Well, hello and welcome again. It is I, Phil, and me, Tim. Haha, I'm just kidding. You're Tim.
I am Tim. Good evening.
Good evening. I am on the other side of the screen, and you are on the other side of the screen.
We are the Screen Buddies. Oh, that's our new YouTube channel, Screen Buddies.
Screen Buddies. Twofold Screen
10.
Buddies.
Twofold Screen Buddies. We do
hey,
top
you know
10.
we should actually do that. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Just
do it. Just do a live top 10. People come and we can talk about the top 10 movies of the year.
Exactly. You can look
That's
at my
a special
shiny forehead just gleaming.
Yeah, I can see
the
her.
light.
Yeah, we're using webcams now, so we can see each other. Even though we're far away, we couldn't be any closer.
Yeah. Okay, exactly. What's on the menu today, Philip?
Well, Tim, I just want to say that I know this day is a very it's a very happy time for you. And if you want, I can take this out of the podcast, but congratulations to you and to your wife for having a new baby boy. A new baby boy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the congratulations. I take it, and my wife takes it. Yeah, we were supposed to record this yesterday, but surprise, surprise.
Surprise.
A baby was born instead.
Incredible. Yes. Very nice.
We're supposed to record in the evening, but I was actually away all night in the hospital. So
I'm understandable.
I'm on about 2 hours of sleep today, but we're still recording.
This is this is the dedication that makes us go beyond.
We do it for you. We do it for you. So rate and subscribe and and tell your friends.
And tell your
tell your friends about this podcast and its dedication to sending out an episode every 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah. Did you hear? I mean, like Tim's, he's going to be a new father, but he, the same day that his child was born, he's still doing a podcast. I mean, come on. He has to talk about Dune.
Exactly. So we watched the Dune.
We watched Dune.
And we compared
give me a sec.
it.
Wait. Johnny's giving us hand signals. Yeah. Go on, Johnny. Play it. Play it.
That's always played good.
Charming to the last, Johnny. Charming to the last.
Oh yeah, what were we talking about? Yeah, we watched Dune and then we compared it to Dune.
We compared Dune to Dune.
We compared Dune to Dune. And by the way, actually, we usually say spoilers, but one of the movie will give you spoilers beyond for the other movie. So this is like uber spoilers.
So true. Yeah, that's right. So this is like this is a twofold spoiler. Hey.
Yeah. We watched the Denis Villeneuve, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Dune, and then we also watched the David Lynch Dune, which they're based on a book. And one of them, the new one, only tells half of the story of the book, and the old one tells the full story of the book. So if you are planning to watch the second Dune, you might get spoiled by it. Actually, you know what?
Oh, does it, Tim?
Let's talk about this. Might be uber spoilers of all time, because once again, I have gone beyond the line
beyond
of
the
duty.
Call of Duty. Yes,
beyond the Call of Duty line of duty, beyond the line, because not only did I watch these two Dune movies, I have sacrificed myself. I ruined a perfectly good experience of watching a new Denis movie, which I love as a director, and then just sucking it in as an experience of an unborn child. I actually went ahead and read the Dune book before watching this movie. I even saw
Tim, what is this? Why did you do this? Why did you bring this upon yourself?
Because I thought it will bring interesting things to the conversation. I thought
that's incredible.
And not only that, I watched it. I did it in a chronological order. I watched. I first read the book, then I watched the documentary. Which came out in
1965.
Jodorowsky's Dune, to see what that old man, crazy man, was up to. So I watched the documentary as well. Then I watched David Lynch, which came out afterwards.
86.
I didn't watch the TV show. That's just too much.
That's going beyond. Yeah, I know.
That's beyond craziness. And then I watched the new movie in the cinemas. And the Sugar Place on little pipe drums.
It's so good. Okay.
So we did this. We did this. We did do this.
Tim, you did this, and let me tell you, since we're jumping right into this, I am so happy to finally get into an epic science fiction series that I know nothing about. Did I tell you that, Tim?
No, but I was really hoping that's the case.
Yeah,
I was really hoping we're gonna come from two different. I'm gonna back in the day, long time ago, we used to play Minecraft, and this is very reminiscent of this approach. Is basically,
tell me.
I would nerd out and I would read the Wikipedia and figure everything out and be the knowledgeable man, and then would be Phil going, hitting trees with the fish.
Going berserker, yeah.
So it's a very familiar place of this approach. So that's what I was hoping for, that I'm going to go and I'm going to read the book and I'm going to find out all the details. And you're just going to wander in and just suck it all in as it is. And it's going to be a great conversation. Right.
In fact, I decided to do the exact opposite of what you did. And I watched the newest Denis Villeneuve film first.
So you had the most innocent experience of watching that movie. So I have lots of questions for you because I had the opposite. But we had Jake on last episode. Thanks, Jake. For coming back.
It was like a fever dream.
Yep, and he gave us shit for not doing descriptions. So this is for you.
Yeah, this is for you, Jake. Also, once again, huge spoilers for a lot of things. A lot of things.
Because I'm going to tell you a little bit of the background. So both Dune movies are based on a book. Frank Herbert wrote in the 60s. So the setting of the book is a sci-fi epic. It's kind of considered one of the greatest sci-fi movies and books, and it inspired a lot of works. And once you're reading it or watching the movies, you kind of figure out, what it inspired. From Star Wars to, Game of Thrones. It's really influential. The basic premise of this sci-fi world is it's 10,000 years in the future. Somewhere between now and the 10,000s, AI got really powerful computers, and basically they try to take over the world. And there was a great war where humans defeated the AI and the computers, and they formed a new empire, and they decided altogether that AI or artificial intelligence or like super smart computers is evil, and to not let them take over, basically they banned any kind of thinking computer. And
I wanted to say I didn't know that detail going in, but then I read a little bit about it. I had to do that, and I was like, "That's interesting, very interesting."
Yeah.
Anyway,
so in this sci-fi world, technology is not based on like robots or supercomputers. And essentially, they have to rely on human minds, enhance human minds to do these kind of magical things. So we have people like Menets who are computing humans, and they can think really large numbers and kind of like think like computers. You have people like who can see the future, like those navigators, and all of these enhancements for humans. They're all reliant on this very rare and some. Material that can't be synthesized called melange, and it's a spice
melange
that's only
spice
mined on this one planet called Arrakis. So obviously it's a political important planet. Now, as we said, it's an empire. At this time of the story, one great house of this empire, one Baron Harkonnen, Vlad, is running is running this planet. They are the overlords. There's a bunch of people living on it called Fremen who are not really happy about their overloads. But the Empire, and this is where our story begins, chooses to change up and remove the Harkonnen.
Change up who's harvesting the spice on Arrakis, because
who's in charge of this planet.
Like you said, Tim, the spice is what controls everything economically, spiritually, because the spice is so powerful.
Yeah,
it can be used it's used as a hallucinogen, but not only that, but it enhances certain qualities of a person, but it also enables space travel.
Yeah, basically,
right?
From going from like really smart people who can calculate to going up to changing you into be able to predict future, and that's how they do space travel. They can't rely on computers to kind of calculate where to land when they go to hyperdrive. Like calculate, okay, is it safe? They basically use magic where these creatures see the future and see where they're going to land, and that's how they navigate through space. So the spice is pretty insane. But anyway, so on Arrakis, so then it's given to House Atreides.
Atreides, yes.
Yeah. And
it's another planet in the galaxy under the Empire.
And when they move, and this is a family. We have our Duke Leto and his concubine, who is a lady of this.
Yeah. What's her name? Very space name.
Oh yeah, Lady Jessica.
Jessica.
And very space name son Paul. So it goes from something you can't pronounce to something that's basically old Ben. So we got the old Oh,
there's
Anakin,
another that definitely that's totally, now that you mention it, that is something that George Lucas took from Dune. I'm sure. There's a lot of things he took from Dune, but yeah.
Yeah, but it turns out quickly that it's actually a trap set by...
It's a setup!
This evil Baron Harkonnen and the Emperor are working together to get rid of this House Atreides because they are growing too powerful. And the son Paul, he is kind of in the middle of this, and he is also very special because one side he is the heir of Duke Leto, so he's trained to be, the next Duke, but he's also by his mother, who's a member of
yes, she is.
This coven of witches called Bene Gesserit Sisterhood,
yeah,
who are aimed to create the greatest prophet who could see the future. And they're all women, and they breed with the great houses, and one day the prophecy they will create this one man who can see the future. Exactly. See more even Matrix. I was thinking about this watching this movie and reading the book. I was like, I wonder if, because there's a lot of that, the one, he will come and save everyone. A lot of Messiah stuff. But anyway, he's also been trained for this as well, so it all kind of combusts, and this is where our journey begins. And I don't know how much should we get into more plot elements of what happens in the actual movie.
Well,
what do you think? That's the setup. I mean, here's the thing.
That's the setup. But I think here's the thing that everyone who watched the film, such as myself, was surprised to see at the beginning of the movie, which was the title, and it said Dune, Part 1.
Yeah, I didn't expect that as well, but I guess that's quite clear. The new one, it's the book is separated into two, as opposed to the David Lynch one. They kind of start off at the same pace, I would say, and then knowing what happens from the book, essentially, even in the book, there's a time jump. There's a 5-year time jump in the book.
Time jam.
So there's a little bit of kind of just showing the effects of it. But the David Lynch one does a hyperspace time jump. It skips to the end. So it kind of,
that was, oh man, when I saw that, I was just like, okay, I'm sure there's something more than this at the end of that movie.
So basically,
at the end of this story,
if you look at this new Dune, where it ends, it's kind of really close to where the David Lynch one ends, except there's the other half which is kind of skipped over really quickly and rushed to the
cliff
end
notes.
scene. Just and to the where basically the book ends, which is the final battle, and then Agent Cooper fighting Sting.
Agent Cooper.
Yeah. Twin Peaks.
Oh, this is Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
Brian McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Never mind. Forget it. Brian McLaughlin. I don't know.
But there's a lot of stuff. Wait. So this is going to happen a lot. I'm going to keep checking if my daughter's waking up because my wife's in the hospital, so I'm in charge.
Must be cautious.
For the program.
Must be cautious.
I think we're good. Yeah, it's been crazy, man. A lot of help. My niece Tabitha, she was there all night with our daughter, and she was here all day helping out while I do run the errands,
nice
go bring things. So thank you. We couldn't have done without you. But anyway, back to Dune. So yeah, it's it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Here's the thing, before we get into these movies, I can give you the thing with the book is that it's really rich. reading it, and I think it's rich.
That's what I've heard.
Like on a lot of levels. Like you have like the world building, right? The whole like what I was describing at the beginning. That all of that is slowly revealed to you. You have politics, like kind of Game of Thrones kind of stuff. Great houses, who's what, why do they want this intrigue. You have family drama, right?
Yeah, in the movie, both movies, in fact, like all I know is House Arrakis. No, all I know is House Harkonnen and House. What's the other one? Atreides. That's all I know, and I know the Empire.
Yeah, I mean the other ones are not really. They usually talked about as the great houses, but it's basically between them. There's like the history and like all this stuff, and there's like the family drama. This how like why is why Duke Leto didn't marry Lady Jessica, and what does that mean, and all this stuff. There's a lot of character development, so you have a lot of you have the great thing about the character development is it's actually about the book, which is interesting because one of the reasons why I also read the book was because when this movie was about to come out, I remember seeing, because like you, up until this point, besides watching Jodorowsky's Dune documentary, I had no idea what Dune was about. I never read it.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know anything, but I remember specifically hearing the book is unfilmable, and I was like, I wonder why. So I was like, I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to make up my own opinion why. And I think besides what I'm listing now, one of the big thing is in the book, like when you read like a children's book, you basically have a third person view where you say, and Johnny went and said this.
Yeah.
And then, like the first Harry Potter book. Yeah. And then you have the next level, which is like this overseeing, they say, Johnny said this and he was sad or something like that. And then you have the point of view where you see the world from one character and then you can read their thoughts as well.
Let's talk about the thoughts. Oh,
the crazy thing about the book is that you can you can read everyone's thoughts. It doesn't matter if they're a main character or a person coming up. The book is written in a way, and it's really interesting because especially the political drama and the family drama and character development is they're all great houses and there's these traditions and how they should speak to you. So an interesting part of the book is that they will speak to each other one way and be thinking of another thing. And that all connects with the supernatural part of it as well, because like we said, the spice alters people. They can read people's minds. They can communicate through telepathy. They can see the future. So you have this constant so two people are talking, but you have 4 different conversations at the same time. Like, they'll say something which is proper of their, but they'll be thinking, oh, this is probably a trap. And then, blah, blah, blah. And the other person will respond is like, I feel like there's something wrong. So it's very, very complicated. And that was probably my number one is like, you can't do this because you can do the voiceover, which they did in David Lynch.
Well, I'll tell you, that's what they did.
That's what they did. But you can't do that. That's no way that doesn't turn out cheesy.
I was wondering about that. I was like, is this something like that in the book? What's going on? Because like, there's a lot of books. I mean, I think most of them would have internalized dialogue through thought in their narratives when someone's writing a book, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, but usually it's like limited to one point of view or something like this one. I don't remember reading a book like this where you get an insight to everyone like this. It's very interesting. And then there's, the whole technology stuff, like learning all the names of things. What's a Gom Jabbar? What's a this and that? You like figuring things out. You have mythology. You have the magic of foresight and everything. It's like very, very rich.
Shal Hulud.
I think that's like one of the, like, it's just so much stuff in there. It's pretty crazy, It's a very full book. So I think that's one of the reasons. So
you decided to take on this book and you finished it, didn't you?
I did.
You finished it before the film. Amazing. How long is the book? Like how many pages do you think, roughly speaking?
I don't know. It's in the other room. It's not that long. I thought
it was like a dummy thick book. Like
no,
huge,
like it's not that thick. I was just like, I think if you're a good reader,
I was showing my butt crack.
You could turn that out in like a week probably if you really wanted to get into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what about the sequels then?
Well, so there's like a gazillion books written, right? So let me give you the people who are not interested, just to understand. So there's the Dune series. You have let me tell you the exact number. I don't know. There's a bunch of them, but essentially you have
that's the exact number.
You have novels which are written by Frank Herbert, the original author, And you have the first trilogy, which is essentially following these characters that we know here. And then afterwards, it goes a little bit crazier. I don't know exactly, but I know it's, past time and just goes anywhere. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 original books from 1965 to 1985. And then I think by his like his nephew or someone like that, we have additional 20 books or something.
Oh, so it's like his nephew. Wasn't it his son?
Is it son? Wait, let me see. It's Brian Herbert.
My son.
He is the elder son. Okay, so it's son.
Look at my son. He shall continue my legacy.
So son. And when you look online, I was looking. Exactly. I was looking online how much should I read actually of this? And they were like, okay, read the first one. If you like it, go for the trilogy. If you like it, go for all the Frank Herbert books. And if you like those, really, really, really didn't go for the Sun books because the quality drops. But you get a lot more world building. But it's not as good writing as far as reading the books. You just expand on the universe.
Okay. So it's not necessarily you're getting some extra.
You can stop at the first book.
Interesting stories.
Yeah. You can stop
at world building.
After the first 6, I would say. That's what they say.
I only after the first 6.
Exactly. So, Phil.
Yes.
Let's talk about your experience going in, because you started with New Dune. That's where I started with
New Dune.
Well, first of all, let me ask some technical questions. Where did you watch this?
I watched this at my IMAX theater.
Your
in
own
3D.
Personal IMAX. In
my
3D?
Own personal, yes. That they don't allow 2D IMAX movies here. They just force you to do 3D.
That's insane.
But I was like, you know what? This is what Tim would want me to watch it on. He would want me to watch it on a big screen. So I did.
So I feel like that
so I went.
Undoes the... I don't know. I hate 3D, so actually, I don't know about you, but I can't stand it.
I hate 3D too, but I was thinking, whatever, I'll just go and do the 3D thing because I haven't seen a 3D film since, I don't know, The Hobbit?
Mm-hmm.
The last Hobbit movie? And back then I actually made 2D glasses where I poked out one of the left frames, because it's interpolated 3D. So one, when you close one eye, you see one part of the screen that's being projected, double projected, and when you close the other eye, you see another screen. So each of those 2 lenses are 2 different shades of darkness that correlate to what you see and what you don't. So that makes the 3D illusion. So I would just poke out, I would just have 2 spare 3D glasses, take out one side and flip it with the other one. So when I bring my custom-made 2D glasses, they won't be 3D. It'll just be 2D, and I can see the pictures clearly instead of that, double looking thing. Couldn't find those, so I'll just be like, whatever. I'll just do it.
Wait. So if you do that, are you only getting half of the frame rate?
No, why?
Okay, and are you getting everything a little bit to the left?
Well, sure. Yeah, sure. But I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. It's essentially seeing it in 2D.
It's true.
Sadly, I didn't do that, but you know what? 2D to 3D conversion. It's not distracting anymore, really.
Okay.
You kind of get used to it, but I would still say that it's after all these years, I'm like, yeah, what's the point of this 3D stuff, right?
It's a gimme.
What's the point?
It's a gimmick, through and through.
The problem is that my IMAX just doesn't show movies that aren't 2D unless there is no 3D version.
It is sad. It is sad. I went to the Star Wars cinema, as you call it.
Oh, that's a good one. That's the cinema we always go to when we watch movies together when we visit Tim and family.
Yeah, sadly, it was very disappointing. It was way too loud. The mix in this movie is kind of like Mad Max, kind of really compressed, big. It was just way too loud. The parts where the music is going bananas and there's a lot of sound effects. It was just too loud. I was like, I can't, I don't know what's happening. So the sound was pretty bad. Which was ironic because it's the Dolby Atmos cinema, which I go for the sound.
That's so sad.
It was way too loud.
This is sad. This is disappointing.
And then the video was one thing. I was so angry because this is the 4K projector, right? That's the one I go for because it's big.
Oh no.
Dude, I don't know what happened, but they had chromatic aberration on the sides.
Oh
I
no.
was losing my mind. There was red on the left and blue on the right, and it was just everywhere. And especially you could see it when it was like moving. It's like the ghosting. It was, and then for some reason, I don't know what was happening. The projection room was kind of like really open, so the light from it was shining onto us. So even when you had like a black screen, like on me, like I could see my hands because the light was on me. So it was.
What else is going wrong with this theater?
I don't know.
What is this Jack theater that you went to?
It was really bad. I was really disappointed and angry.
Why didn't you get out and just be like, listen, I want my money back?
Yeah. I was just, unfortunately.
I'll watch Dune some other time.
I'll Dune it up somewhere else. So yeah, from the technical side, it was disappointing. So okay, so
that's disappointing.
So you want to see the IMAX,
yes.
And so you don't know anything about Dune. So guide me through. One thing is, I want to know is how was the experience of discovering the story and going through the movie? How did you feel about it? Were you interested or not?
Yeah.
Second, were you understanding or were you confused by it?
That's the big test. When I went in, I was wondering now, because I keep hearing, it's this unfilmable movie, and Jodorowsky, don't even know how to pronounce his last name, always had problems with it. And I always heard about how the David Lynch one doesn't do it justice. It's too complicated. So I'm like, this is the one science fiction epic series that I know nothing about. Nothing about. Like, it's one of those old ones. It's one of the oldies that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, the engine ones. It's not Lord of the Rings or Star Wars.
I mean, Lord of the Rings was
older, but we had a refresh.
No, it's like at the same time. It's at the same time, So okay. I consider this like a sort of test where it's like, let's see if I'll understand what's going on. Because I was fully prepared. Going to cinema, I was fully prepared to be confused out of my mind and not know what's happening.
Yes.
I was fully prepared for a Warcraft, if you've seen that film.
No, I did not. I stayed away from that like the plague.
Yeah. But Phil. But Tim, it's directed by the guy who made Moon and other good movies.
What's the Moon? Oh, wait, let me check. So what is this?
It's a movie with... Yeah. You check it. It's directed by... What's his name? He's the son of David Bowie.
He's the son of David Bowie. Duncan Jones?
Duncan Jones, yes. It's directed by him. And he was such a fan of Warcraft. And I was like, when Warcraft was going to come out, I know nothing about Warcraft. And I thought, well, if he's such a fan, I'll watch this movie and I'll know what happens. I knew nothing. I went in knowing nothing. I went out knowing nothing.
Perfect.
They were just mentioning the gobbledygooks and the rigmaroles and the, and the and the morgolos and the hoobigabs.
Exactly.
And I didn't know anything. Like, and it was a 2.5 hour long movie. And then when it ended, it was just like, this is only the beginning.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
I was just like, but what I noticed about Warcraft was it felt like a movie for the fans. It felt like, I think the fans would like it because all of this terminology that I don't understand and the orcs joining with the humans, and even though they fought each other, I bet they like this. That's what I was thinking. So I thought this would be the same experience with Dune. Or it's going to be a Lord of the Rings and it's going to actually tell you carefully what is happening. So someone who, like me, who knows nothing except fear is the mind killer.
Yes.
And sandworms and spice. Whoever controls the spice controls the galaxy. That's all I know. That's literally all I know from Dune.
That's the basics.
Right?
Sandworms, spice, and fear is the mind killer.
Yeah. So I go in. It says Dune Part 1, and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm not going to see the whole film now.
You immediately thought of the Warcraft movie where it's going to end. It's like, this is the beginning. This is where the Dunes start.
Actually, I thought of Lord of the Rings, 1978.
Oh, really?
The Ralph Bakshi one. Because that was the one that should have said Part 1 so people wouldn't get confused, but they didn't put it on because they didn't want people to be sold a half of a movie.
Oh, people are not going to go see it. Like, why should I go see only half?
Part 1. And I think they did the same thing with Dune. I think they did the exact same thing, except at least they put it in the title. So I started watching
when you're in the cinema. Can't get out there.
That's kind of how I felt when it happened. But anyway, nonetheless,
Okay.
I think what grabbed me at the beginning was that one ancient language at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was just there's just some kind of a phrase.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's do it. I like this. Let's go. And the movie unfolded, and all the way to the end, I was like, I get it. I understand. This is great. I was invested.
Okay.
I was invested in the movie.
Oh, that's cool. So you were like, okay, wanting to find out more, and there was never a point where, you know, a Fubigab or Morgolo
Nope,
was like,
never.
I don't know what this Morgolo is.
I was very happy about that because I knew everything. I had a feeling that it might have been simplified from the original book, and I was wondering if there was some changes to the novel because I don't know anything about the novel. But when I watched it, every step of the way, I was explained exactly what I needed to know, and it was done with a nice, with a good pace. I noticed that it was quite slow, but I felt, I mean, come on, it's a science fiction movie. It's a science fiction movie about epic houses and geopolitics, and it's about, you know, prophecies and this and that. And I thought, why not? That's part of the mood of the movie. That's part of the movie. That's what Dune probably is about.
Okay.
So I went and watched it that way, and what can I say? I really liked it. And I told a bunch of friends that I liked it. And I'm like, you should probably watch it. I liked it. It was great. And I was
I was confused by that line. I told a bunch of friends that like it, like, were you afraid to admit it? What is this? This
oh,
is
no. No, because like usually, actually, no, but when I actually like the movie and I feel like it deserves that kind of attention, I would tell people about it, you know? And it's kind of rare that I do that these days. Like I probably wouldn't tell anybody about, what was the last movie we watched? No Time to Die. It's like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Green Knight. I mean, that's a whole separate thing.
Right.
I would say it's good, but like it would be like up to you to. I mean, this also has certain. I mean, like Dune is also the same thing. It's like it has its certain flavor, and it's not going to be for everybody. But at least it tries to. But it has that overarching epic feel that I was very entertained by, and I very much enjoyed it.
That's interesting because, you know, since I was robbed of this experience that I did this to myself. I was also feel like I was watching it, but I did, you know, it was hard to turn off the analytical, you know, mind of kind of comparing and looking at things throughout the time and just enjoying the movie. So I can't wait to see it again, you know, now being calm, not overthinking it. But I did the same thing.
But what went through your mind?
I was just like comparing it to the novel, comparing it to the other movies, and just like thinking of like what's the decision between, how is it going to go? What does that mean? And what I come to conclusion when it was done, it was like, it was a really good example of a great adaptation because they did cut things away. They simplified things, but it was kind of like they figured out what's the main story or what's the main, not story, but what's the main core of it and just kind of trimmed around it. And they were, when it was okay, when the movie language worked for something that was straight out of the books, like let's say the scene with the Gom Jabba. And you can see this in the Lynch one. It's basically translated from the book to the movie 1-to-1, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Both those things very similar in the movies, exactly same in the books. The other stuff, let's say like the reading the thoughts of the mind, right? I mean, I apologize. You're reading in the book what someone's thinking, right?
No, that's what I mean. I was laughing because I just was reminded of the David Lynch movie.
You know, David Lynch, they kind of did that, but in this one,
they did.
In this one, what they did is just completely ignore that, and they showed it. Let's say, I'll give you an example of Lady Jessica, right? She is she's the royal concubine of the, Duke, so she has to be presentable, and she also has to have this kind of image, being stern and being, not letting in emotions, and she has to know all the customs, a lot of the, the how the house works and how all the workers in the house, they look up to her, so she has to have a certain attitude, especially to her son and everyone. While, and she's also part of the Scissorhood sisterhood, and they have these great powers. The sisterhood, the voice where they can control people with their really loud voice and all these magical things.
Oh, the voice! I forgot about that one. Yeah, voice is great.
But in her head, she loves her son, she loves her husband, she cares for them, she's worried for them. So you have this dichotomy of like on the outside when you hear them talk, they it's all like
all business,
but inside the mind,
stoicism. Yeah.
So in here, like they don't talk all business, right? Sometimes there's a little bit of it, sir, my lady, but they all among them to talk like humans, and then she emotes behind closed doors. So Lady Jessica, when she's talking to her, I forgot what's the title of the old crazy, the truth sayer. I don't forget what the title.
The truth sayer.
She's something. She's the Great Reverend or something like that. I forget what it was called. The Reverend Witch. I don't know, something. She's all that, all game, and then she closes the door and she's crying. So
Reverend Mother.
Mother. Yeah, there you go. And then she goes behind closed doors and she cries. So it's kind of it takes the idea of it and completely moves it to the medium. So I think like it was a really good, like the choices they made to get the story across was really good.
I agree. Because like for me, it passed that test of like, that's what Lord of the Rings did. Because like when we talked about Lord of the Rings in what am I saying? When I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, I knew about the Ralph Bakshi, but I didn't. I also was kind of blank slate when I watched the first movie back in 2002, and it hooked me right in. I understood everything, and this did the exact same thing, I think.
Well, this brings up a question. If we're bringing up Lord of the Rings, I had a thought about. So I was also thinking about Lord of the Rings. Okay, is this gonna be what Lord of the Rings? Because Lord of the Rings before the Peter Jackson movies were. The nerds,
the unfilmable movie.
No, I mean like as far as like in the mindset of humanity, right? The what is that called? Whatever. It's
zeitgeist.
Yeah, the people. It was nerds. Who like Dungeons and Dragons and like reading things. It was not in the popular culture. It wasn't in the mainstream.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that movie basically, but now everyone knows what Lord of the Rings, right? Because of those movies.
Everyone's like Gollum. Everyone's like,
they have a certain idea of it, and also people understood what. So if they were going to go read the books, like I think a certain audience would go read the Lord of the Rings books after the movies. I think a more casual person might pick up the books because now they're more familiar, and it's not so hard to read those books because the story and you can imagine it through the eyes of the movie.
Yeah,
and it did a shift of what that story or what that piece of creative end product is. So I was wondering, would this movie do that to Dune as well? And as far as an adaptation of the book, I think it really did that. But as we said, it said part 1. Now here's the behind the scenes. So Denny,
dude, that's exact. Before you say anything, that is what happened when I left the theater. Opened up my Wikipedia to check.
Yeah.
And I'm like, certainly they filmed this back to back, right? There's no way. They filmed this back to back. The next one's coming out next year. I actually was looking forward to seeing what happens, Legitimately, when I was done with the movie, I was like, I really want to know what happens after this. So I'm going up, looking at it, and I'm just like, green light. They still haven't had a green light on this. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They didn't film anything.
So
that was a shocker. That's like the cliffhanger ending that I needed for this movie.
So Denny wanted to do it back to back. He wanted to shoot the first book as 2 parts, as 2 movies. Unfortunately, Doo-doo.
Yeah, that's the second Dune movie.
His last great sci-fi epic movie, Blade Runner, 2049, wasn't financially satisfying as the studios wanted, so they didn't think, they didn't want to risk 2 movies in case they're not going to do both. So basically, they immediately make a deal. Once the first one comes out, if it's financially successful, they probably agree to a certain number, what that means. Or if people are talking about it or whatever it is, then they'll greenlight number 2. So that's the crazy part.
Surprising.
Right. So
that is the crazy part.
And that got me thinking about what does it mean for the studio heads If they're talking about strictly numbers, okay, it's going to be a lot easier. But even to get those numbers, I think even just to do a great adoption, it's not enough for the popular culture shift. Because I was watching this movie and I was thinking, like, what is it about this movie that goes beyond the movie? And I know it's like a sad thing to think about, but when you think of Lord of the Rings, it's not just a movie that captured people's imagination. It was how it seeped into everything, because like something like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, it's, you have the toys and you have the merchandise and you have the visual elements. And, if you look at, a Lord of the Rings, a tree elk, it's like, that's immediately a toy. This one, the set design and how it's filmed, there's none of that. There's not, everything is designed in a way to be mundane and boring and part of the real world. There's not a spaceship that you think from this movie that you could recognize.
Helicopters.
Like do you think that's like something that is sellable? So these images go beyond the movie. So like when you're walking around, you're like bombarded by these images. You see a dwarf with an axe, and that's a very distinct image.
You go, and hey, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and in your head that creates a thing. Like there's not much. Like the only two things that I was, and maybe this was deliberate, that I was thinking about is like, because to actually change the pop culture, you have to change the kids and the teenagers, because we were kids and teenagers, and we adopted Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
This was the maybe grown-ups, I don't know how they felt about it, but it's us, the kids, that kind of then take that in, and then as they grow, the influence goes out of it. So our kids and teenagers going to be interested of seeing Dune. And are they going to be interested? I mean, the only two things I know is they got, Timothy and Zendaya, right? Those are the biggest two stars.
Well, that's what I was wondering about too. Like,
but is that enough?
Zendaya.
Is that enough?
I don't know, Tim. I don't think these things are easy to predict.
I'm just curious. Like, I know,
because it doesn't have the fun of Lord of the Rings. No, that's the other thing.
That's also, there's action scenes and there's all sorts of stuff. This is a very different movie. It's a very grown up movie. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like some, sci-fi nerd kids who love it, and maybe some emos who probably love it because it's all like. But as far as like I could see a bunch of teenagers go, let's go see Lord of the Rings, because like everyone's going to see it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much do. So we'll see. I guess the numbers and.
I mean, as of this recording, it said it did make. As of this recording, it did make 220 million out of its 165 million.
So what do you think? Can this Dune, this movie, or if it's going to be a series, can it do what the Lord of the Rings did to
Dune kebab?
The Lord of the Rings? Can this Dune do the Dune? Or it's just going to be these movies basically? Dune. And it's going to be like a, I
don't know. I'm too old to know now. You know what I mean? Because like I liked it. I want to watch the second one, but when I'm done, I'm done. It's not the same anymore. I don't think there's going to be another movie series that's going to make me as excited as Lord of the Rings is and give me that influence. I think it's just when you're older. Don't you think?
I guess the question is, are there going to be 5 years down the line Dune Lego sets? And I don't think so. I think it's just going to be a movie thing. It's going to be a cinema experience, and it's going to be it's not going to be a cultural shift as far as Dune. I think that's just just like seeing it. I think that's my interpretation. So we'll see how much satisfied the bosses are.
We'll see. All I want is I want this movie to be completed. I want to see what happens in the next one, because we watched the David Lynch one as well, and that gave me all the cliff notes. I didn't really want. I went halfway through the film, and it was like all of the story was the same, and I was thinking. I thought that when I watched the David Lynch one, it's going to be David Lynch. So it's going to be like out-of-body experiences and strange psychedelic things like that. What was that creature with the big head and the...
it starts off. Yeah. You know what that was, right?
What is that, Tim? No.
Okay, so that is the Navigator. So those are humans who then for many years are exposed to the spice. And first starts like the body transformation. They can see the future, and then their body starts to, and they can't even live on air anymore. They have to
And
put
oxygen?
into these
Yeah.
they have to put in these water tanks.
Ew, I didn't know this.
And basically, these things are put into those huge spaceships that travel, across solar systems, and they're the navigators, and they are, yeah, and that's why the guild needs the spies to create these navigators so they can, basically charge a lot of money to transfer people from planets to planets.
It's all about money. It's all about money. It's like this. We've developed 10,000 years.
It's all about the
and
spice.
in the end, it's still all about the spice. It's still about the economy. It's still about the fears and the paranoias that we still face now. Great. I guess that's maybe one of the points of the story.
So you were saying about, I mean, if we talk, the interpretation as far as, I mean, there's many. I think Denis was going for a more personal, like as far as his story is of Paul and what it is. I feel like it's, kind of like the Matrix, the one. It's essentially you are also given a lot of responsibility. You know what you want to do, what is your duty, but also it's kind of mixed in with him having this gift of foresight by the training. And then as he moves into Arrakis, the spice that's just around him basically enhances that ability, where he starts to see full-on visions. And in the books, and it's very similar feeling of it in the Denis books, is of just the internal struggle he has of like, what does he need to do? How does he react to these visions? Are they true? Are they not? What does it mean for him? What does it mean for his decisions? That kind of internal progression of being chosen as this Messiah person, right? And because as we know, from his mother, it's basically set up. There is no Messiah. The sisterhood basically goes around planets and creates fake stories. So people, when they arrive on that planet, people believe them, right? They work for their cause. So he knows it's also fake.
Wait, what?
Well, basically, so...
Wait, I don't remember this happening.
Well, I don't know if it's mentioned strictly, and maybe it was just mentioned on the side.
In the movie, in the Denis movie, like, the lady...
Jessica?
The soothsayer.
Oh, yeah,
No,
the
not
Reverend
Jessica.
Mother.
The Reverend Mother, she mentions to Jessica before she leaves after the whole Gorjabar test and everything. She just said like, "Oh, we actually are manipulating this situation to happen. We are, we're engineering this."
Yes.
And that's all I know. And I thought, well, I mean, they're engineering a prophecy. Okay, that's cool, but I didn't think they were just making stuff up for people to just believe.
Well, basically, essentially they want to use the spice to create this. Unlike the deformed, navigator, their idea is to create a human who can basically just see all past and future at the same time, right? Just the expansion of the mind.
Yeah.
And basically they have these traditions of how to do it, and that's how they become a Reverend Mother. And this is something that happens in the second part of the book. You get more information about this, which is completely skipped over in the David Lynch book, and it's super weird and super creepy. And
the David Lynch movie, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. And it's super weird and super trippy, and I can't wait to see it and what Denis does with this, because it's all sorts of weird. But anyway, but the problem is, to get to that ultimate level, most of the ladies from the sisterhood just die when they go through this process. So they think their prophecy, they either made it up or they believe in it. It doesn't matter. But if they breed enough people, they will create this man who can do it. But they also manipulate people, using the voice and using stories and using prophecies and just using the importance of their sisterhood, of just like manipulating for, even to get to people to believe. And like, that's the part of the book. They always keep talking to like Lady Jessica in her head. She'll go to a place and they'll start, whispering, and she's like, "Oh, the sisterhood was working really hard on this planet. Like, they're really buying the shit. I better, step it up a notch." And then she uses the voice, and they're like, "Oh, she's the chosen
wow,
one."
okay.
Because the Freeman.
Huh. The Freeman. We didn't talk about the Freeman. The Freeman are the desert nomads.
Sorry. Here's
Freeman. What we're talking about. The Morgan Freeman. The Desert Norman. Okay,
The
go on.
Desert Mormons.
Sorry.
You know how I'm terrible at pronunciation things, right?
Fremen, yes, Fremen.
It's even worse when I read books because I'm dyslexic and I don't know how to pronounce things. So if I'm reading like a sci-fi book, I'm not going to look up how to pronounce it. So in my head, I'll just make up some kind of pronunciation.
Okay.
It's funny seeing the movies and just hearing how you're supposed to pronounce it. And
So how did you, like, let's say Harkonnen, or
I was like I can't remember
Atreides.
Harkonnen. It was, I think it was a Harakon or like whatever. But the funniest one that I completely missed was Freeman. I read Freeman every single time, and then they go Fremen, and I'm like, is that how you pronounce it? And I look at the book, and it's
what's a Fremen?
it's like there's only one E. But it's like, that's even lamer because when I was reading, it was like Freeman. It's like, okay, that's a lame name to call yourself, but it makes sense.
Gordon Freeman.
You're like on this planet and you reject the,
His brother John Freeman.
you reject all the overlords. You're the Freeman.
Yeah.
But Fremen is like, that's like lame. That's like science fictioning Freeman. It's like, we'll remove the E and it'll be like an exotic
Remove the E.
exotic
It's an
way to say
exotic
I was
name.
like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, sorry, I didn't want to diverge from that. That was just hilarious. I was thinking of the Fremen.
That's just what the Fremen thought.
What were we
Yes.
talking about? How do we get into this conversation?
I don't know. We were talking about. I was going to get to the Lynch movie because we didn't talk much
Yes.
about that one.
Lynch movie. I don't know.
Patrick Stewart's back. He's in another '80s film that we watched
Sure.
as a background character, somewhat.
Random Patrick
side
Stewarts.
character.
That's the theme of this. We should just collect them all.
I mean, I admire David Lynch's one just for the way it looks. It's got that beautiful late 20th century 80s grime
Stench.
You know what I mean?
It's there. There's
it has the
gases,
stench.
liquids. There's always like fog.
Yeah.
There's always liquids. People are sweaty, and there's always some kind of sound going.
The picture is grainy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly. You described it perfectly. It's that sort of before things turned digital and people started looking very smooth on their skin. There was a time.
That's right. Everyone
just grimy. They used really because they
glycerin. Everyone was caked in glycerin, shining, reflecting all the lights.
Really, like
they have people using their thought bubbles as voiceover, essentially,
yes.
And
just like the books, yeah,
just like the books, and they also the shields. I was wondering this. So since you read the novel. What is up with that? Because the David Lynch one has these stupid looking square like boxy shields that turn on. Okay, so in the world there are these little devices that you put on and they become like body shields, like in Halo or other games that probably took it from Dune, where it gives you like a limited shield against projectiles and anything, stabs and stuff like that, right? In the new movie, it's done just like in Halo, essentially, with some little colors where it's like when it's blue and when you get hit by someone, the shield blocks, the body shield blocks most of that hit, right? The entire hit, but it depends on how hard and how powerful it is. So if it's like really, really strong, it gets to red because it's depleting, the shield isn't strong enough to go through it. So sometimes people can get killed even if they have the shield, if it's too strong. So what is it in the book?
If I remember correctly, it's not really described visually. It's more described how it affects the fighting. So essentially, when the shield is activated, if something is coming at you really strong, fast, the shield will stop it. If it's slow, the shield, like it's not in complete protection, right?
Yeah.
Anything can go actually through it. So essentially, there's a lot of combat training, and there's a difference between, especially when we come up to the climax of the new Dune, when he has to fight Janice, who is a Fremen. They fight without shields, while I
noticed that. That was a detail I noticed.
Arrakis fights with shields, and there's a difference, and that's where the tension comes from the book, because Paul is used to fighting with a shield, basically, where you have to. When you want to give a killing blow, you have to attack very slow because the shield will otherwise stop it. So if you want to kill someone, you have to basically slowly put the knife in them.
Because that's funny because it's just like this real life substance. You know what they were talking about, like that bulletproof substance that it's like,
oh, you know, I don't know what it's some kind of jello or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know what they call it because I'm not smart and I don't remember these things, but it's this, it's like cornstarch when you put it with water.
Oh, yeah, the non-Newtonian.
Yeah, non-Newtonian
yes.
kind of
We
fluid.
made that with my daughter. We had fun with it. It's awesome. You should
Right?
make it.
Yeah,
it's great.
cool.
Exactly, yeah. If it's something's fast, it'll stop it. If it's slow, it'll exactly like that.
So it has nothing to do with the boxes. What is that Boxy thing that they did in the movie?
They just didn't know, like it was back in the day in CGI. They had to describe it somehow. Honestly, I don't remember in the books if there was like a visual. I don't remember if there's a visual representation of how it should look. I don't remember at all. So I would assume it's not. Maybe correct me if wrong.
All right. Well, tell me what your impressions were because you read the book first, then you saw David Lynch's one. So what happened there?
Of the David Lynch one, I think, like thinking about this and like, if I'm thinking of what did I learn from this whole experience, especially watching the movies, because that's the podcast about, is watching those two movies. It's a little bit tainted by me reading the book because me going on the journey of the story and those books happened for me in the books, not in the movies. So when I was watching the movies, my thought process, what I was thinking about was the process of and the choices made for the adaptation, right? Why
that's
and
the
what
thing you
was
compare it to.
That's what was going through my mind. So I'm not really thinking about how I feel or what's going on. That's really how I'm looking at it. And it's the biggest thing I learned from this really, and also it's worth note the David Lynch one. It wasn't David Lynch's vision. There was a lot of studio tampering. So in the end, he's really disappointed in that product. He doesn't want to talk about it because really couldn't make it how he wanted it to be. And the studios didn't make it how they wanted it to be. So neither was this ethereal, crazy David Lynch experience, nor was it a box standard, sci-fi epic that the studio wanted. So in the end, you kind of just have this interesting thing that maybe if you didn't know nothing about Dune, and there's many kids in the 80s, and you can hear, Kevin Smith talk about it, they enjoyed it because, it's a crazy sci-fi movie that you're watching. And honestly, I expected a lot worse. I think
I did too, actually.
It was very fun just to watch it. I think it was interesting of like the choices they make, the casting and designs. It was just, it was like a wacky, greasy 80s thing you're watching. And it's just, it felt very harmless. I'm pretty sure David Lynch probably feels very sad about it because, it was his creative work and it was a lot of money and probably just a horrible experience. And it doesn't feel very David Lynch at all. So I understand that.
True.
I think on the topic of
being
adoption
sad about not being able to do it the way they want it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. What I was thinking about it, adaptation, right? Not adoption. Adaptation. That's
it's
the word.
fine.
I keep missing
it.
Yeah. Is if you're taking something that was created in one medium and you're taking to another, obviously, it's art and you can do whatever you want. But for me personally, and I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago with Denis, and he was talking to Christopher Nolan about Dune. And Denis said that the main goal for him, and this is the instruction he gave to all the departments, it was, we're not making our version of Dune what we think it is. We are making Frank Herbert's Dune in a movie. That's the idea. Don't think about what you want. Think about what would have, Frank do it. So in that perspective, it kind of makes sense. Reading the book and seeing the movie, yes, it's a great translation from there to there. For me personally, is that something that I want to see? Or do I think an adaptation should be like that? No. I
see. Yeah, that's where you're differing. Yeah, because for me,
I feel like, I feel like if I want to experience it being the most honest
accurate,
and the most accurate, I'd rather go and read the original medium. That's why I don't like translations. If I'm reading a book and if I know the language I'd rather read it in the original language than the translation because something always gets lost. So if I can, I'll just go to the source rather than. And if I'm going to read an adaptation or a translation,
I'm gonna open that Duolingo and start learning that language.
I'd
I can
rather
read the original.
I'd rather have the more subjective interpretation of that.
Right.
I think it's more interesting if you remix it instead of just going one to one. And I know a lot of people like that. I know
I like it.
When you read that's why I like the third Harry Potter book. It takes liberties in how it chooses things. It's a vision of the director that takes the original thing and just makes it their own. And I think that's why I love Stanley Kubrick books. And I hate to bring
Movies.
old Alejandro, movies. I hate to bring crazy old Alejandro, Jodorowsky.
No, you better bring Alejandro Jodorowsky.
So we watched this movie before.
This man is a psychopath. I can't believe he's incredible. This Alejandro Jodorowsky, film director from. Was he from Peru? No, he was from
somewhere from South America.
Somewhere in the deep South American forests.
Yeah. And he tried to make a movie
Chile.
before.
He's from Chile.
Yeah. Before any, he came up from like experimental indie cinema.
Yes.
And he, by some chance,
Spicy
he wanted to make a
Chile
Dune movie.
Interpretations, yes.
Because his movie Holy Mountains was doing great. And he picked Dune just randomly. And he really wanted to make it. And
he's passionate, man. I'm so passionate about it. It's going to be the greatest to change minds.
And I remember watching the movie, and I remember like his crazy ideas of casting all these crazy people in this movie.
Yeah, we saw this 7 years ago.
And the designs were insane. And besides being like a motivational kick in the ass, this movie to watch, like once you're done watching this movie, you're gonna go sit down. You're gonna make something. Just his way of looking at the world,
yes,
is so like influential to your psyche. But I was really curious.
Jodorowsky is such enthusiasm. Dude,
I did it. If I don't do it, I don't do it.
Yes, it's amazing. And he was 84 at the time, and I didn't even think he was 84. I thought he was. Oh,
at the documentary.
Yeah,
yes, when he was doing the Dune.
He didn't look like that. He was just so like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to make the film. It's going to be the greatest film. It's like that's how he talks.
Yes. And even the
if I cut my arm, I'll cut my arm for the film. Yeah. If I die for the film, I die for the film.
I did it. I love it. He's so great. But the thing I was curious is like, okay, what was this? Because when I watched that, I didn't know nothing about Dune, so I was like,
me either.
And I did,
of course.
And I was confused in the documentary what was actually the point of that movie, what he was trying to make. But now reading the book, I watched the document, and it was hilarious because it has nothing to do with the book. He just changed everything.
Well, there you go.
He makes his own up, dude. But to use his absolutely, terrible analogy of what he talks about, how his thought process. He talks about raping Frank Herbert's book. That's what he does. He changes it and makes it his own. And it's a horrible analogy. It's disgusting. But I do feel like when you're doing that, I do appreciate a more subjective approach where you take it and make it your own. So I think for me, this new movie, as much as I love it,
Jurassic Park's kind of like that too. Now that I think about it,
it's like I'm not. Yeah, for me personally, that's just my. I don't. Yeah, I'd rather go read the book, and if the movie's going to be someone else's messing up, I'm not going to be the one that. Book is different. It's like it's okay.
I'm sick of doing that, but there are certain things that but what happens when
what's your thoughts upon this? What's your
that's what I'm saying
about?
Like I'm of two minds here because I feel like this is the funny thing because we're doing this audiobook, right? We're doing this audiobook for Jungle Book, and very much like Jodorowsky, like I have no history with like Jungle Book isn't any kind of favorite of mine.
Yeah, it didn't grow up or something.
No.
Book wasn't your
but at the same time, the way that we're treating it, because we're doing word for word, you can't have it any other way than we have to figure out what the intentions of Rudyard Kipling was to get this thing to sound the way it does. Because it's true, we could do our own kind of audiobook where we can change the characters. Maybe we, like you can if we had the budget for it, we don't right now, but like
Yeah.
in a like theoretical way, you could change like what the animals sound like. They don't have to sound like actual animals. They don't have to be, you can make up something and it would be
anything.
It could be its own thing for sure, and I see value in that. But I don't know. I'm of a mind that if I want to make that one, I want to make the one that it feels like it's jumping out of Rudyard Kipling's text. So
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it's because of Lord of the Rings. When I watched Lord of the Rings, that's exactly what Peter Jackson said. He said, we're doing Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. We're not doing our own version. We're doing that one. And
Yeah.
I think that there's value in it, but I understand when you're saying you read the book, what's the point of watching the movie if it's going to be the same thing that I experienced already, right?
Yeah. And it's only like a personal view. I think everyone approaches it differently. For me, that's not, I'm not interested in having different version of the same thing.
But but like it's funny that you say that because as I'm getting older, I see more value in what you're saying, where it would be so much more interesting to see someone take something and take advantage of it, and with love.
With love. Oh God, it's just horrible. But it does get the point across. Because here's the thing. So I like Denis movies, right? But I feel as I was watching this, maybe this was ruined by knowing the plot, but I kind of was missing, like I didn't feel like, I couldn't feel him. I couldn't feel the director. I couldn't feel the vision. And then I listened to that podcast and I was like, oh, there wasn't supposed to be. It's supposed to feel like this. And I was like, oh, okay.
But maybe this is what Denis wanted to do.
And I completely understand
it. I was just
yeah, and that's what he wanted to create, and he did, and he did a great job doing it. It was an interesting kind of observation from my point. I want to ask you, what's your experience with the movies of these directors so far? Like, how many of
David Lynch movies
have you seen, or how many Denis movies have you seen?
I'll show you. I'll show you with my fingers how many David Lynch movies I've seen.
Mm-hmm. This is the first David Lynch movie?
Yes.
Interesting. I've seen all David Lynch movies except this one.
Wow. Okay.
I never seen this one because I heard it was bad, so I just skipped it. I was like, it's not David Lynch's vision, so don't watch Dune. I was like, okay.
I haven't seen anything. I know but I recognize his style. I recognize it without seeing any movies. I kind of know what he's about.
Did you recognize him in the movie?
Oh, yeah, totally. No, David Lynch as a person, yes. No, I've seen a lot of David Lynch. I've seen a lot of him around. Yeah.
Okay, what about Denis?
I've seen Blade Runner 2049. I've seen Blade Runner 2049. I've seen Blade Runner 2049.
That's it? Okay.
I don't know. What else did he make? Let me see.
Okay, Arrival, Sicario,
no, I was
Prisoners.
Supposed to. Nope. Okay, you're right. Yeah, Arrival. I've heard of Arrival. I've heard of Sicario, but I've not seen them. So
you've not seen them. Prisoners?
Phil Dragish, the most disappointing co-host to talk with right now. I've not seen anything.
That's okay. I'm just curious. Like, yeah. So basically, he did like a lot of,
He didn't do Oblivion, right?
No. I think from the movies that are besides Swords and like his local art movies, I think goes from Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, and now Dune. That's his like mainstream American cinema that he did.
Yeah. As opposed to
I've
French
seen the first one I've seen
cinema.
was Sicario, and then just kind of went from there back and forth, like a really big fan. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing: I can't really criticize David Lynch movie just because there's so many aspects of it. It's just like it doesn't feel fair of breaking that movie down. Honestly, it's just it's so incompetently.
What, Dune?
The David Lynch one is just incompetent, but in a lovable way. I don't feel like going like, okay, this could have been better. It's like, what's the point?
But that's what I was going to say. There's a lot of movies that I've seen that have that same kind of value to them. They're flawed, but so what?
Approach it?
Where's the standard? Where's the ground floor where you can pick them apart? You can't. There's no ground floor.
What are you trying to do? Like, okay, you criticize it's not accurate to the that's an approach. It's like, okay, you don't like it personally because it's grimy and slimy. Like I don't know how
just
to
a little
approach it, but there's one criticism of the new movie, Denis.
I have one too.
That might be very divisive, but I did not like the Hans Zimmer score.
Oh, really? Let's talk about that, Tim. Let's talk about it.
Here's what, besides this mix being just way too loud and very too compressed, and there's way too much going on. It was really annoying at times when there's like a quiet scene and everything's going on and there's booms and noises, and let's not talk about that because that's mix and influences. It was like Mad Max, but it's not Mad Max, so it doesn't matter. Let's skip that. Let's not talk about. Let's talk about the soundtrack itself. I listened to it afterwards, and so the movie is very the approach, and this is Denis' style. He likes to approach things very naturalistic. It's not realistic. It's not hyper stylized. It's very natural of like how things are lit, how things are displayed.
Okay.
It's very like mimicking documentary, but not in your face where you're not shaking the camera, but it is
thank goodness.
You're kind of the way people act and the way things are shown is in that way, which may create a boring kind of feel. Now, when you're shooting something realistic, as in a contemporary movie building or something like that, movie set, you have a lot of detail there that the person connects to, and then this kind of naturalistic way of shooting it just adds to the feeling of it. When you're shooting something that's science fiction, so you're inventing the sets, it might create, so you have to kind of think of things like how people connect to when they see a goody be goop on the side. How do you shoot that naturalistically, right? It's not real. Nobody's going to have an emotional response of seeing, somebody sees a razor, and there's light is on it. It evokes emotions of seeing your dad shaving or something like that.
Sure.
And that has the effect. When you're watching a goobly-goop, it's not. And then also the sets of design of this movie are very monolithic,
empty.
and they're very empty.
This was my criticism. Yeah.
I
was.
It
was.
It doesn't feel
like
lived in. It feels
very
like empty and not real. So that mixture might create a very stoic and boring feeling to it. So what I would have liked it, and forgive for the pun, the music to add the spice.
Try the melange.
Because it's very like I don't know how to use good words to describe it, but I think I'm getting across my point. The view, what you're seeing is very kind of static and kind of like angular and kind of bad word to say boring. But I feel like the sonic spectrum of it, if the music was more as far as the timbre and as far as the way it sounds, like the ideas of the sound it use to kind of spice it up or to kind of lead it place, it would work. I think the music just, I don't know, it wasn't the spice that I felt like, and I hate to say it, but I kind of miss
Junkie XL?
Johan Johansson, unfortunately. He did the music for Sicario and for Arrival, and I think unfortunately he has passed away. But I'm pretty sure if he was still alive, he probably did this movie. But if you listen to the soundtrack Arrival, he just uses these sounds that kind of make sense, that just connect you to this very stoic kind of movie as well. And the design of the alien ships there is even crazier than this. It's so barren, but the sound kind of glues it together. While I feel like this is bog standard Hans Zimmer. I'm sorry, but chants, like, oh, it's desert people, I'm gonna hear chants. I'm done. I don't want to hear chants anymore.
At least it wasn't the the one that was popularized after Gladiator. This is different. Yeah. At least this is a chant. Okay, this is the same wailing female voice, right? But it's at least it's not. Desert. At least it's not.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different, but I understand, and I haven't thought of it in that context, and I am reluctant to agree with you, but I think I do.
And it's not like an analytical kind of thing. I think that came afterwards. I was watching it, and that's what I was feeling, and I thought about it afterwards. I was like, yeah, I don't like the soundtrack. It's not adding to anything. Maybe that was the point. But to me, and then the rhythmic stuff in there, it's just like I can't. It's just bog standard Hans Zimmer stuff. I'm like, I need something to elevate this. It doesn't have to be a full orchestra score, going epic. It doesn't matter, but there's something about that was missing. So that's my criticism of this
Interesting.
movie.
I never would have thought about that. I would have. I feel the same with you with the production design. It does.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have seen more than just big geometric shapes, right?
Yeah. And the thing is that it's fine for when they go to Arrakis because they basically take over the Harkonnens' place and they're new there and they're trying to make it home. That's okay. But the first, quarter of the movie takes place in their home planet. That feels exactly the same. It does. And maybe you could argue that they're moving out, but it's like if they're because in the books they're so longing, all of them, especially Jessica, to go back and just how nice it was on their planet.
Yeah.
Right?
Now that you mention that, because
it feels like just another ugly place that they lived on. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is our home. It's just that's just my personal feeling of of watching the movie, nothing to do with the books or anything like that. It was just me as a viewer of the movie.
No, I agree with you there. I really do. That's something that I felt was a bit strange, that you got a lot of things right, and that I was able to go through the story and I was able to enjoy watching this story happen. But I just, it was weird now that you're bringing that onto the forefront, where you just there's something in the middle that's not there. There's something that's not there that would have had texture, given some more life.
Yeah, definitely.
To the story.
It's interesting. I mean, it's.
But wait, no,
what?
Go on.
No. I'm really in this podcast. I think I'm discovering some patterns that may be true, and this is completely veering off the topic, but the Marvel cinematic universe new movie Eternals, the embargo was lifted on the reviews, and the reviews are not so favorable, and they're saying that it's boring and blah 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 blah. But I was thinking about this when I saw the trailer. I was like, this feels like the DCU, Superman movies. And I don't know if you remember, my theory is that of kind of approaching, a superhero in that kind of, what if a superhero had real emotions and it's Superman? It doesn't work because the original source doesn't have anything to add there. It's just like, okay, what if Superman was real? What would he be thinking? And it's like, well, nothing, because he's a caricature. He's Superman. He doesn't function in that universe. He functions in this. If you add that, you just end up being superficial. Just like, to me personally, what those Zack Snyder movies felt like. It was just really pretentious because you're adding something
about the Zack Snyder film
that doesn't feel. But no, but I was thinking, it's like, and maybe I didn't see the Internals, but maybe that's the same thing. It's like, Chloe. I watched her movie Nomads. It's great. She adds this realism to these real people, and most of her actors are not actors; they're real people, and you can connect to that because you're a human being and you understand the setting. If that's her approach to superheroes, trying to make that, it's the same thing again. And I feel like that's the same thing with the Dune, is that if you take this really natural approach to something that's made up, you might cross a barrier where it's you're not able to connect, and it becomes a little bit, you lose that. But that's just my approach, because I know his movies. If you watch his movies, it's like watch Sicario or something like that. It's a very human approach. It's very direct. So it's just
weird how that thing gets lost in translation. That's so strange.
But it was very interesting for me to watch this. So I enjoyed this whole experience of
I did too.
Reading the books and watching the movies and talking to you about it. I think it was awesome to do this.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, the amount of effort you went through to get to do all this is pretty crazy. Actually reading the book. Can you believe that? He reads the book. He reads the book.
I mean, it's a famous book. It was on my list for a very long time. I just never had a reason.
The motivation's there then. What did I want to say? I wanted to say, Dr. Yue, I think his name was.
The traitor.
Yeah, so when you're watching the film, where you're like, I saw him before. I saw him in the new movie. Like,
No? Who is he?
He's familiar. I've seen him somewhere. I've seen him.
Who is he?
It's Chang Chen. He played the desert nomad guy in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh. What? Okay. Yeah,
I was
no,
like, yeah,
I
his
did
face.
not-
I was like, he's so familiar. And I was like, that's him, Chang Chen. I haven't seen him in 20 years.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
And then I
That's
looked at the
crazy.
credits. I was like, of course, I remember he was supposed to be in Dune or something.
That's-
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the photos now. Yep, makes complete sense. No, I got.
No
He's not
familiarity.
really much in the new movie, to be honest. I think he's kind of like the main ideas there, but I think it's a little bit more in the other one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. There's a lot to talk about this.
Big
You know,
eyebrows. Yeah, I know.
yeah, of course, brighter. We can talk about the details of like the individual choices of like what in each of the movies. I would maybe save that for a night. Maybe we can do like an Instagram live chat, and
Yeah, I was
you can
thinking the
ask me
same thing.
questions. We can look at pictures, and I can explain what does that mean in the books.
Yeah.
I feel like that much of a deep dive that I could offer, since I'm pretty fresh to the books.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's really interesting
Well,
to people. You let us know if you're
Let
interested.
us know. That's what I want. I want some engagement here. I want someone to tell us, what do you want us to do? Because we can do some stuff in between these podcasts that might be more fun, more interactive. So I'm shouting out into the ether.
Yeah.
Whoever controls Iraq. Oh, I wanted to say, this is the one
What?
thing we didn't tap into. I don't know if that's important to you or not, but to me it is. It's important.
What is it? Well, tell me. I'm intrigued.
Shal Hulud.
Oh, yeah.
Shal Hulud.
Hmm.
The sandworms. That's one of the biggest icons. That's the icon of Dune. The
Yes.
giant sandworms in the sand. You know me, Tim. I love monsters. I
Yes.
was so happy. That was like the best part of the movie for me.
Okay.
Was when the doctor is cornered by all these by the three of these guys who chased her in the desert. They
Yes.
they shoot her up a little bit, and her her desert suit is leaking water, so she
Yeah.
won't be able to survive. And she's lying on the sand there, and they're just gonna be like, you're gonna die by the name in the name of the emperor or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I serve only one master. His name is Shal Hulud. And she does the rhythmic tapping on
Thumper. It's called a thumper.
Yeah, but she also does it with her hand.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
That attracts the giant sandworms, which are, and this one just comes out of the sand, and it's like the beautiful texture of the sand flying. That's great. I loved it when they were approaching, and you can see these big bursts of sand, because these giant sandworms are gigantic. They're kaiju sized.
Yes.
And just I love seeing the deified, disgusting worm creatures in movies like this.
It's interesting that I definitely understand you love the monster, so you're definitely looking at the design and how they. I was completely
the baleen, like blue whale looking teeth.
What is
that
it
they
called?
have.
Those like little whiskers, whisker teeth.
I don't know. Baleen, is that what it is?
I think so. But here's the thing. For me, from coming from the book, I completely was thinking about that, because in the books they are, like you said, a deity. It's a much more of a religious and a I forgot the word. I forgot the translation. Obrad. What does obrad mean in English?
I don't know what that means in Slovak. Obrad.
Obrad, yeah. It's like a
Metaphor.
no. It's
Idol?
like a traditional thing you do. What does that do?
Procession.
It doesn't matter.
Not a funeral.
No.
Rite of passage.
It's just a simple word I can't think of right now. But the idea is that it's there's definitely that kind of like, oh, it's a giant worm coming out, and there's a lot of build up to figure out that it's a giant worm that's coming out. It's not given to you. But since we live in a world that's the only thing that everyone knows about it, Dune, that it's a giant worm in the sand. So you're never going, oh, what is it? Is it a dragon?
Oh, you're right.
Is it a giant leg? No, it's a worm coming out. We all know that.
It's just a worm. It's a worm.
So no matter what the medium was, that's always kind of ruined. But because, and here's so if you really don't want spoilers, like really big spoilers, listener, not really turn it off. Because
turn off.
The worms are very important, because one, that's where the spice comes from, is directly related to the worms. Secondly, like the whole traditions of like the swords
Fremen.
and them, right? and that riding them, it's like the worms are really connected to everything. So from the books, like it's more about like it is it's like a religious experience of seeing the worms. So I never really imagined them in my head as creatures, but as more of an event of seeing like. So in the movies, to me, it's like, oh, cool, like there they are, the worms, they're jumping out. I was really never thinking about it. It more, and especially it's written that way, you kind of get not like the description part of it, like, and then it rose 3,000 feet. I mean, it's written that way, but you also get what they're feeling, and it felt like it was,
but that's cool.
That's really cool. I think that's a cool approach. It's like, it's not just, oh my God, it's tall. It's like, I feel like I'm in the presence of a god. That kind of.
That's what I liked in the movie. They showed the effects of it more so than they showed the worm, like jumping around. And I feel like that gives like every movie worth its salt,
wiggling on the sand,
wiggling around like a slinky.
That'd be hilarious.
Every movie worth its salt has that sort of thing. T-Rex, the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that stuff. We need more of that. We need more of the effects of the creature, because that's the same as doing, not showing the shark in Jaws. It's the same principle. Yeah. And that's it. I just wanted to mention those worms and,
Shiloh dude. That's what
Shiloh dude. I mean, they're digging holes. There's worms in there somewhere.
They live in sand, and I like the worms.
El Shabanur. Oh.
El Shaddai. There's a lot.
I said El Shabanur. That's the name of Apocalypse in X-Men.
There you go. Maybe that was inspired by this.
I meant Lisan al-Ghaib.
There's Muad'Dib, and there's a lot of words in this, and this. It's
good stuff. It made me. It just elevated the movie. It was played right. I liked it. Do you think they're gonna make Warhammer 40K the movie now? No, I'm kidding. Never mind. Let's stop.
That's your thing. I've never painted miniatures.
Yeah. The last thing I will say. The last thing I have to say is that Tolkien has an impression to say in one of his letters in 1966.
Mm-hmm.
He was given Dune to read,
mm-hmm.
and and he wrote to a fan who sent him a copy of Dune. At least I think, I don't know if it's a fan or a friend of his, but he said, thank you for sending me a copy of Dune. I received one last year from Lanier, who's a friend or someone else, and so already know something about the book. It is impossible for an author still writing to be fair to another author working along the same lines. At least I find it so. In fact, I dislike Dune with some intensity, and in that unfortunate case, it is much the best and fairest to another author to keep silent and refuse to comment. Would you like me to return the book? or should I hand it on?
Beautiful.
There you go.
Love it.
Classic Tolkien, just hating on everything.
Exactly.
He didn't like Narnia either. He thought it was not good.
it's a ripoff. And I think I stole my stuff. We were friends, but then he stole it. Okay. Well, let's switch it up. Let's not be negative and say, Denis, good luck to getting part 2 and part 3 out.
So I want to see it. Then there's only 2 parts. It's only 2 parts.
No, but he was you can continue if you take the second book. That will kind of round it up, apparently.
Yeah, and not make it that weird montage in the Lynch one.
No, but you can take the first book and you make 2 parts, and then you take a third book and make like the ending. So kind of continue. So that's what they say. So hopefully they might do a trilogy, because why not? Trilogy.
Why not?
It up.
I know.
Good luck to David Lynch. Hopefully one day he'll get to do his version of Dune. Still hoping.
You mean Jodorowsky?
and Jodorowsky as well. I hope he's still alive, so hopefully he will do his Dune version as well.
Well, he said maybe we do animated movie.
I hope so. Jodorowsky, everyone gets a Dune. We're all Dune.
You get a Dune. We get a Dune. We're all Dune. We're children of Dune.
We all did it. We just did a Dune. Me and Phil just did a Dune.
We did a Dune. We did a Dune kebab.
We all do Dune. We are all Dune. We are all
Yes.
Paul. That's how Jodorowsky ends. We're all Paul.
Oh,
And we all
yes, that's
see-
right. So that's not in the book, is it?
No, and then the planet
Oh, okay.
travels through space. And
That's
and-
right.
and-
The planet travels through space
no, that's not in the books. Got nothing of that.
and
Yeah.
becomes a paradise.
As Frank Herbert is twisting,
In his
speed of
grave.
sound his grave.
powering a whole village with his energy.
That's how the sandworms were born. Frank Herbert just spins so much. That's basically
Right.
great.
Well, anyway, I want everyone to hopefully kind of give us some feedback. I don't know where they can reach us the best. I guess Instagram is our
yeah.
main place. Please do it because I really want us to do some extra little things.
Yes.
I think that would be
like to do
exciting.
things.
Yeah. And so what's next in the cluster, Tim?
I don't. Well, there's the cluster is the clusteriest right now because we have French Dispatch.
The hell is
coming
that?
out.
I don't know.
The new. Why is this podcast cursed to me? Why can I never remember the name of the director if we come and I have to say it on this podcast? It's
Steven
absolutely-
Spielberg.
No, it's absolutely. I'm cursed. Like literally, this has happened
Edgar
several
Wright.
times. Why can't I remember the name of Wes Anderson on this podcast?
Oh, wow,
it's a curse.
Wes Anderson.
I can never remember to say Wes Anderson when I'm recording this podcast.
Well, you did now.
So that's coming out. The Eternals is coming out. There's also the Edgar Wright movie is coming out.
Last night in Soho.
And it all released next week. So
What do we do?
We'll see.
Just
We'll
pick
see
the
what
most
we do.
popular one, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know which one
Drop
are you.
everything
Which one are you interested in most?
Me?
Mm-hmm. From these movies.
Me.
Yes.
I don't know. Last night in Soho, I guess.
Soho
Right.
is
Haven't
okay.
seen anything from Edgar Wright since Baby Driver.
He hasn't made anything.
Oh.
Since Baby Driver.
I mean, I have one idea for a special that we can do. Please, listener, don't stop. Wait. One special that I would love us to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the Roger. Take that away. John Borman, Lord of the Rings script.
Okay,
It is
sure.
glorious. Glorious. Tim, I don't know if we should just read it and then talk about it, or we should just read the whole script. Like we can bring
we can
Jake
do-
along.
Yeah,
and
we can do like a live
We can do a
reading.
read through. Yes. It'd be so good. It's so nuts.
Okay, well, let's do that. That's a special. We also always still have in the can of doing the MCU music analysis.
You got me. I can do voices. We're all good.
The new, the new Lord of the Rings. We Duned. Now we're gonna Lord. Yeah. Tell your friends about this podcast. You know,
Mhm.
let
Please,
people know.
yeah.
They might enjoy this. You never know.
You never know. It's just a good time to hang out with your friends on
Exactly.
in two sides of the headphones that you're listening to right now.
Yeah. We upload these all to YouTube as well. So if you know, you can leave some comments there. Be like, hey, I'm Dune. I'm Paul.
I'm Dune. I'm Paul. Just do that. Everyone just be like, hi, I'm Paul.
I'm Spartacus. And
I'm Spartacus. Yeah, totally. Let's just end this now. Johnny, switch us off. Johnny, switch us off. Switch us off. The mystery of life is not a problem to solve. It's a reality to experience.
That's the future. It's coming. Holy war spreading across the universe. The unquenchable fire.